So, as it has now been some time since it was announced that Caitlin Clark was not chosen to be a part of the women's Olympic basketball team this year, and after all of the countless YouTube and media commentaries that I have listened to on the subject, I thought that now would be a good time to talk about the level of undeniable stupidity demonstrated by the WNBA and the Women's Olympic Selection Committee in this decision. After listening to what many of the WNBA supportive women in the media and the women on the Olympic Selection Committee have said publicly in their attempts to justify their reasoning as to why they chose not to have Caitlin Clark on their roster, I can't help but find myself even more convinced than ever that these women just aren't capable of embracing the type of logic and common sense a business needs to be successful. Although to most of us who can easily comprehend the basic understanding that a business needs to increase customers for it to grow in revenue and profit, it is laughable how these women only continue to reject this basic premise. Their continual stubbornness to avoid having to accept the stupidity of this decision from a business standpoint only gives validity to the notion that Caitlin Clark was left off of the team because of petty jealousy. By what it is that we have seen many of these WNBA players childishly say and do since the moment Caitlin Clark announced her entering the draft, most of us are already convinced that the petty jealousy of these ego-bruised women is what dictates everything within the WNBA. The unbelievable lack of awareness on the part of these women as to the embarrassing level of petty, immature jealousy that we all see from them simply astounds me, and probably most of you as well. What most of us believe happened in this decision to not roster Caitlin Clark on the Olympic squad is that these petty, jealous players probably said that they wouldn't play if she was there. Let's listen to what the popular YouTuber Melody King says about women in her reaction to ESPN's Stephen A. Smith's take on why Caitlin Clark should have been placed on the women's team.
For some reason, women are petty, bitter, jealous, catty, nasty to one another. You cannot have another girl be the it girl and outshine you. Women don't work that way for the most part. Is it all women? No. But it is in female nature, inherently in the psychology of women, to want to outdo the next female. They cannot stand another female who's a leader, even though they say it's men that hate women. It's men that keep women back. Women work together. Women always do. What? Have you ever had a female boss? It's one of the worst things ever. The cliques that form at work. Who is it? It's not men forming cliques, it's women. The cattiness, the catty shows, the reality shows, all of that fighting, who is it? Women. Why? And then what do women want to watch? Other women fighting each other. This is what women are drawn to. Why do women fight each other on television and all into this gossip and cliquey type of stuff? And why do women watch it and it dominates the ratings? You need to ask yourself why, because that is psychology. That is female nature. And this is why female sports will not elevate. When you have something like tennis, when it's just one person, that works. When it comes to team sports, it just doesn't. And this is the reason why.
Now, taking into consideration the immense popularity of these reality TV shows where women are constantly fighting each other over the stupidest of things, one would be hard-pressed to dispute what Melody King said in this video. But let's take a look at some of the things that have been said by the Olympic Selection Committee and by women who are publicly attempting to justify this unbelievably stupid decision in the media. First, allow me to introduce to you Jennifer Rizzotti, the U.S. Women's National Team Committee chairperson, whose ineptness at helping to grow the popularity of the WNBA is frankly without question. Allow me to read from an article in Y Sports dated June 11th, 2024. Jen Rizzotti, the chair of the Team Selection Committee, told the Associated Press in an interview published June 11th that Caitlin's inexperience led the committee to leave her off the team. Now, I personally do not have a problem with the player's lack of experience on the world stage being a factor in the decision process. However, what she said was that Caitlin's inexperience, quote unquote, led the committee to leave her off the team. Yet, this was never the criteria for prior years' Olympic team selections because in 1996, as a rookie, Rebecca Lobo played on the Olympic team without that level of experience. As well as in 2000, Kamik Holtzclaw, in 2004, Diana Taurasi, in 2008, Candace Parker, in 2016, Brianna Stewart, and most recently in 2021 with Aja Wilson. So clearly, because of this hypocritical claim that Caitlin's inexperience was the factor that kept her from the team, one could easily assume that this statement was only made as a means to cover up the real reasons that Caitlin Clark wasn't selected. Reasons she did not want the public to be made aware of. This, of course, once again, lends to the credibility of the players' resentment of Caitlin Clark's popularity. Now, if that in itself wasn't stupid enough to say because of the blatant hypocrisy, she immediately followed that with the most idiotic statement a person in a position could possibly make. She goes on to say, Jen said the committee simply evaluated the team they were creating, not fan reaction. And is there no better way than this to expose just why it is that this league isn't popular or profitable? Because whether they want to accept it or not, the sole reason that any sport grows is because of the fans. Without the sole mindset of growing your fan base, you have no hope to grow your sport, nor to provide your athletes with the opportunity to reap the benefits of increased salaries and in growing their own personal brands, whereby they can benefit financially from the popularity of the league. Something Caitlin Clark has already done to the tune of multiple tens of millions of dollars. Also, something that these other quote unquote experienced players have not yet ever received. But once again, without any concern as to the harm they do to themselves by openly displaying their indefensible stupidity by publicly admitting that they do not care about their fans, it is no wonder that they are the laughing stock of the sports world. Let's have a quick NBA history lesson to prove my point. The 1970s was a dark period for the NBA, as the league was in a lot of trouble due to drugs, fights, and racial controversies. However, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird came just in time to resurrect the NBA. Magic and Bird dominated the 1980s and made the league popular again. However, it was Michael Jordan who made the NBA global, thanks to his dominance on the court with the Chicago Bulls. So even though great players like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were increasing the popularity of the NBA, the fact is that it was the popularity of just one person, Michael Jordan, who elevated the sport to a level it had never before achieved. With that achievement, both the league and the players began to enjoy financial benefits that they never could have imagined. And then, the greatest thing happened for the NBA. The Olympic Committee decided that professional athletes would be able to compete in the Olympics, and hence was formed the 1992 Dream Team. Because of what the world saw of this team at the Olympics, the NBA became a league not simply supported by the United States, but by the whole world. League merchandise reached epic levels as people throughout the world began buying jerseys from their favorite NBA players. This Olympic Dream Team was the start of the NBA's global cash cow, a cash cow that they have been growing each and every year due to what Michael Jordan and the Olympic Dream Team accomplished. Last year, the NBA reached an all-time revenue high of $10.58 billion. Now, in similar manner, did not Caitlin Clark not also bring an immense level of popularity and fan interest to the WNBA that has immediately benefited the league and its players with dramatic financial gain? One could argue a level of popularity that to the WNBA rivals that of Michael Jordan in the NBA. The only difference between the WNBA and the NBA is that the league and the players of the NBA gladly embraced the benefits of Michael Jordan's popularity and helped him to continually grow the fan base, where in the WNBA, They only whine, cry, and fight against it because they don't get to be the popular ones. Now, interestingly enough, even though the historical facts show how the popularity and effect of Michael Jordan and the Dream Team benefited the NBA, here is what some of these self proclaimed wise women defending the decision to not roster Caitlin Clark are saying. Cue in Andrea Carter, an ESPN analyst and former college women's basketball player, saying how she doesn't understand how increased viewers and the money from networks increases the amount of money the league receives.
I know you won't want to grow this game so quickly, but I don't know how dollars from TV deals watching the Olympics translates from dollars from TV deals watching the WNBA.
Well, first off, if these women cannot understand how fan viewership and TV deals generate revenue for the league, then does anyone wonder why Caitlin Clark was not placed on the Olympic roster? Secondly, since she cannot seem to grasp the simple concept that what the exposure televised sports bring and the money stations pay for the rights to telecast games all translate into revenue, then she probably shouldn't be the one publicly defending such a bad decision. More importantly, someone in power needs to get a grip and realize that women who apparently don't understand the dynamics of the sporting business are the ones making the decisions that are causing the continual loss of approximately $10 million per year in this league, and then replace them with knowledgeable persons. In fact, this has gotten so bad that recently word has gotten out that this year the WNBA is expected to lose upwards of $50 million despite its gained popularity. In contrast, what the NBA did with the popularity of Michael Jordan and the 1992 Dream Team caused the NBA to blow up globally, resulting in unimaginable revenue for both the league and individual players' personal brands. Why in the world would the WNBA and the U.S. Women's Basketball Olympic Selection Committee be so stupid in making the decision to disregard that and leave off the league's most popular and loved player? I will end with another excuse they love to throw out there on why Caitlin Clark wasn't picked for the team. It has been said that her stats did not support her being on the squad. Well, let's look at that real quick. According to her stats at the time of this decision to not place her on the team, within 14 games, she averaged 32.7 minutes played per game, with 15.6 points, 4.9 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.4 steals, zero point 0.9 blocks, and an 89.7% shooting from the free throw line. And yes, she averaged lower in field goal shooting with only 36.7% and 32.2% from three-point range. But in looking at these stats, two things are necessary to point out. First, Caitlin Clark and the Fever team had a schedule which required them to play 11 games in 20 days, a physically grueling schedule for any athlete to have to endure. According to an excerpt from an MSN.com article dated 6/2024, it states this: Fever finish unprecedented front-loaded schedule. After 19 grueling days, the Fever have played over 25% of their games in 14.8% of the 128-day season. Indiana became the second team since 2007 to start the season with 11 games in 20 days, joining the Washington Mystics, who went 1 for 10 in that span. So clearly, the team was extremely tired and performed below norms. And over the course of her last 4 games played under normal scheduling, her stats are rising, as well as the team's wins. Secondly, what must be recognized is that no one in this entire league has been physically attacked and defensively guarded as Caitlin Clark has. No other player, regardless of how good they are, have been defensively pressured and double teamed as Caitlin Clark has been. Every time she even touches the ball, someone is playing her tight defensively. Every time she makes a move on a screen, a second opposing player jumps up, creating a double team on her. Yet despite this, she still, as a rookie, averages 15.6 points per game. That is no small task for anyone, as I am sure that if Aja Wilson, this year's highest scorer with an average of 28.3 points per game, was to be pressured with the same intensity that Caitlin Clark is, she also would not have the stats that she currently has. Hence, in the minds of many, there is no issue as to Caitlin Clark's deservedness to be on the team. So the bottom line is this. As a professional sports organization, having people who are knowledgeable enough to make the right business decisions is critical. A league must have people who can look past petty egos and jealousies so that they can make the right decisions in driving the business upwards in its popularity and profit. In this Olympic team issue, a person who held a deep business savvy would have had the courage to see past the pettiness and immature jealousies of the players and realize that Caitlin Clark had to play in a much more difficult environment than the rest of the league, whereby her stats would have then been recognized as being rather good in light of what she has had to face, and hence made the best decision for the league by including her. But because this isn't the case, here is what this league now has to face. Many of the fans who would have watched the team play in the Olympics simply are not going to watch now. And contrary to how the majority of the players are going to once again claim that the lack of viewers will be because of race, the true reality is that after being in existence for 28 years, most of us still just don't care about the league. After all, I recently discovered that this year's team has the opportunity of winning an 8th straight gold medal. Yet I can't think of anyone else who, like me, didn't even know that they had ever won one in the first place. And that because, quite frankly, nobody cares. I would also argue that I think it is foolish to think that if Michael Jordan, a black man, and the most popular player in this country in 1992 was left off of the Olympic team, that the fan reaction wouldn't have been the same. So, in conclusion, I can only say that sadly, these women who stubbornly resist the logic and common sense of why Caitlin Clark should have been selected will remain too stupid to realize that there was absolutely nothing to lose in having the nation's most loved and popular player on the Olympic team, and only everything to gain. And not just for the league, but for the players. I know that myself and many others who have tuned into the WNBA for the first time this year because of Caitlin Clark have already gotten so tired of the nonsense that we only watch Caitlin Clark games now. However, after how these decision makers have openly declared that fans don't matter to them, I don't think they care about what makes us want to support them anyways. So feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments and be sure to share this video and to punch that like button if you agree. Also, I would like to thank you very much if you already have, but if you haven't, would you hit that subscribe button, as that would be a great help to me, and I can't tell you just how much I would appreciate your support. So hey, as always, I'd just like to say God bless you, and thanks so much for taking the time to listen. Until next time.